Hello, grade 5 students, class 5-1 Orange Group. Mr. Waterman here with today's language arts lesson. It is Friday, February 4th, 2022. I hope everyone is doing safe and well. And yes, you can see my lips moving. I'm doing something different again. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go over the answers from yesterday's grammar activities on pages 155 and 156. So please just follow along and make any corrections you need to. If you don't need to make any corrections, just place a check mark next to each sentence, okay? So yesterday we reviewed our point, and it said in comparisons, the adjectives good and bad have irregular forms. Better and best are the irregular forms of good. Worse and worst are the irregular forms of bad. For the first activity on page 155, we needed to read the paragraphs, circle any errors, and then rewrite each paragraph correctly in the spaces provided. I did the first sentence with you from each paragraph. Let's continue checking. She climbed her tree almost every day, but thought that sunny days were gooder than gloomy ones. Gooder is incorrect. That should be corrected to better. B-E-T-T-E-R, because we are comparing two things. So I'm going to write it out. She climbed her tree almost every day, but thought that sunny days were better than gloomy ones. I think so. Don't you like sunny days better than gloomy days? Okay, next sentence. Ana Rosa had her goodest ideas for stories when she was in the gree tree. It is not goodest. That is incorrect. It should be best. B-E-S-T. Ana Rosa had her best ideas for stories when she was in the gree tree. Where do you get your best ideas for stories, students? At home? In school? When you're riding the train? When you're walking? I always get a lot of good ideas when I go to a park. That's just me. Last sentence. She was always in a better mood after sitting in her tree. We don't put more and better together, so just put an X through more. She was always in a better mood after sitting in her tree. And there you have it. The first paragraph is all done. Please check your sentences very carefully. Now, let's move on to the second paragraph. Okay. Hopefully, I won't knock this mirror down like I have done before. Maybe I'll turn it. I'll do that. Okay, that's a little bit better. If it falls, I'm going to start laughing. I'm just going to say that right now. Okay, so I fixed the first sentence in this paragraph. Let's continue. This was far worse than a gloomy day. So this should be worse. W-O-R-S-E. Okay, so I'm going to write that sentence first. Oh, this is not working with this mirror. Maybe I'll do it this way. All right. You've seen me. I need the space. Okay. This was far worse than a gloomy day, because we are comparing two things. We use worse. Okay. Next sentence. For Ana Rosa, the worser part of the storm was watching the trees through her bedroom window. It is not worser. It should be worst. W-O-R-S-T. Let's write it. For Ana Rosa, the worst part of the storm was watching the trees through her bedroom window. Okay? Ana Rosa hoped that her gree-gree tree would be all right, but she dreaded that her most worst fear would come true. Take out most. We don't need it. Okay? And let's write the last sentence. Ana Rosa hoped her gree-gree tree would be all right, but she dreaded that her worst fear would come true. Lots of writing for these activities. Okay, so there you have it. Both paragraphs have been corrected, and then you had one more paragraph that you needed to correct on page 156. This is our proofreading. You needed to go ahead, find the mistakes, and then you had to rewrite the paragraph. Let's see if my mirror action is going to work better on this page. Now you can't see me. There we go. I'll leave it there. Okay, let's go through and correct the rest of the paragraph. Okay? He could swim faster than the fastest dolphin, and no fish was gooder at diving deep, deep down. That should be better. B-E-T-T-E-R. Let's write it. He could swim faster than the fastest dolphin, and no fish was better at diving deep, deep down. There we go. This fine swimmer was also the biggest creature in all the sea, and he scared away the baby fish. We should be okay. Let's write that. I wish it were warm enough to visit a beach and swim, but it's still winter. The biggest creature in all the sea. And he scared away the baby fish. That's not nice to scare away the baby fish, right? They didn't do anything. Next sentence. The worstest thing about his size was that the other ocean creatures called him a sea monster, and no one wanted to be his friend. Oh, that's too bad. But this should be the worst thing. The worst thing. Okay? Let's write it. W-O-R-S-T. The worst thing. About his size was that the other ocean creatures called him a sea monster, and no one wanted to be his friend. That's really sad. Everybody needs friends. It shouldn't matter what you look like or what size you are, right? Last sentence. He thought there was nothing worser than being so big. W-O-R-S-E. Worse. He thought there was nothing worse, W-O-R-S-E, than being so big. Ta-da! All done. There you go. After you have checked both pages 156 and 157, test time on pages 157 and 158. I'm going to go over the directions on page 157 first, okay? And it's two parts, part A and part B. Please listen very carefully. This is our test, comparing with good and bad. Part A. Circle the letter of the adjective that completes the sentence correctly. Circle the letter of the adjective and write the adjective in the blank. Okay? Number 1. It was the blank day of Ana Rosa's life. A. It was the goodest day of Ana Rosa's life. B. It was the better day of Ana Rosa's life. C. It was the best day of Ana Rosa's life. 2. Angela is a blank helper than Roberto. A. Angela is a worse helper than Roberto. B. Angela is a better helper than Roberto. C. Angela is a best helper than Roberto. 3. The story would have been blank if Senora Perez had written it. A. The story would have been worse if Senora Perez had written it. B. The story would have been more worse if Senora Perez had written it. C. The story would have been worser if Senora Perez had written it. Number 4. Tourist season is blank than summer. A. Tourist season is worse than summer. B. Tourist season is worse than summer. C. Tourist season is worstest than summer. Number 5. Whales are blank swimmers than penguins. A. Whales are best swimmers than penguins. B. Whales are gooder swimmers than penguins. C. Whales are better swimmers than penguins. Number 6. The wind was blank in the evening. A. The wind was worse in the evening. B. The wind was more worse in the evening. C. The wind was worser in the evening. Take your time, circle the letters, and write them in the blanks. Part B. Circle the letter of the proper adjective in each sentence. Seven. The American tourist enjoyed seeing the whales in Sosua Bay. A. Sosua. B. American. C. Bay. 8. Humpback whales inhabit Atlantic waters. Is it A. Whales, B. Humpback, or C. Atlantic? 9. The gree-gree tree is a South American plant. Is it A. South American, B. Gree-gree, or C. Plant? Number 10. The Caribbean islands have tropical climates. Is it A. Tropical, B. Caribbean, or C. Climates? Remember, before you take your tests, go back and look at all of your points. Turn the page. This is the last page of the test on page 158. Please listen as I review the points with you. Point 1. Remember to use better to compare two people, two places, or two things. Use best to compare more than two. Remember to use worse to compare two people, two places, or two things. Use worst to compare more than two. Please remember, a proper adjective is formed from a proper noun. And remember, a proper adjective begins with a capital letter. Here are the directions. Read the letter below. Rewrite it correctly on the lines provided. Look for forms of the adjectives good and bad. Make sure that all proper adjectives are capitalized. Now I will read the letter. Dear Ana Rosa, how are you? Is your writing getting gooder? I am sure that with practice you will become one of the most best South American writers. Does Roberto have a more worse cold than he had last winter? Please tell me when would be the bestest time for me to visit. Your brother, Wario. And that's it. If you have any questions, feel free to email Mr. Waterman at any time. That is it for your testing lesson. Good luck to everyone. Take care, stay safe and well, and I will see you in the next video. Bye-bye.